Hey everyone, welcome to Outwatch, a Survivor Rewatch podcast. My name is Alex, and welcome to our inaugural show. I'm really excited to start this off and for you guys to experience it with us. I'm here with three of my friends, and we're going to introduce them in a moment, but I am the resident Adam Klein level super duper fan, so to speak, and I'm here with three friends that range on the scale from complete Survivor noobs to casual to semi-serious fans.
I guess here's my question real quick. How many of us know who Adam Klein is? Because I don't get that reference.
I absolutely do not.
Okay, so none of us get the reference.
You shouldn't get it, but Survivor super duper fans will.
It's a funny reference that none of us understand.
Yeah, perfect. So on Outwatch, we're going to go back and rewatch old seasons an episode at a time and remember them or experience them for the first time. The great TV moments, we'll go back and dissect some strategy and reflect on the stories of the season. Coming from the perspectives of, again, this whole spectrum from newbies all the way to someone who listens to Survivor podcasts and spends too many waking hours thinking about the show of Survivor. And then we'll also play a version of Fantasy Survivor that I have concocted and pulled from a number of different places. So before we get going into the first analysis of episode 1 of season 7, Survivor Pearl Islands, that's going to be our first season that we go through, we need to introduce the people that we are going on this Outwatch adventure with. So, like I said, my name is Alex. I will be guiding our Outwatch friends through this experience. Yeah.
The Outwatch Friendcast.
The Outwatch Friendcast.
Only one of us survives.
Man, that will take a real turn.
Every week we vote someone off the podcast.
We kill someone.
Oh, wow, you think you're funny.
I do.
Episode 2, the finale.
Yeah, right.
The one person voted out. Vote 2, the final 3 gets $1 million.
So I will be hosting and kind of guiding us through the seasons. I've seen all of them. I remember some to most of them. And as far as I know, everyone else on these seasons on the podcast does not know what's going on, which is great, which is also good for you to know. If you are rewatching this season or if you're watching it for the first time, we'll be spoiler free. So you don't have to worry about being spoiled. I am really excited because I think that this will be a podcast that whether you are rewatching, whether you're watching along for the first time, or whether you aren't even watching this season and are reminiscing on the season, I think it'll be something that is enjoyable for you to listen to. So I have watched a lot of Survivor, and I'm excited to share it with you.
I'm going to say it's also important to remember for audiences out there that 3 of us have either never seen these seasons or have no recollection of these seasons. Right. So you can spoil them for us. Just please don't.
Yeah, great call. And I will do everything in my power to not accidentally slip a spoiler. And I don't think I will. I think I'll be good about that. So that's my Survivor story. I do have, this is my one Survivor defining moment. I remember vividly watching the second season of Survivor, which was my favorite until I became a woke Survivor fan. And the out of commercial break started where it was like, viewer discretion is advised. There are some potentially disturbing scenes. And I was like, oh, what's going on? And then I watched Michael Skupin fall in the fire and was terrified at like age 8 and went into the other room and had my parents tell me when it was over. It was scary, man.
Here's the thing. I have a vague recollection of being sent into the other room when that warning came on.
Yeah.
And I think I know what you're talking about, but like I was in the other room, so I have no idea.
Michael Skupin fell in a fire. He got medevaced.
Terrifying. So that's how you knew it was real.
Dude, it was so real. So I'd love for the rest of the people going on our Outwatch journey to go ahead and introduce themselves, and then we'll get into the episode. Adam, why don't you go first?
So my name is Adam. I am at Adam is Super on Twitter. I'm not vain at all. I watched Survivor when I was a child and remember almost none of it. As far as this season goes, I definitely remember Rupert, and I remember Johnny Fairplay, but only in name.
Yeah, who could forget?
And that's the extent of my Survivor knowledge. I've definitely I've seen a few of the newer seasons just because I lived with you, Alex, but yeah. I would never say that I watched Survivor in the last probably 10 years or so, give or take.
Perfect. Emily, how about you?
Yes, so my name is Emily. I won't give you my Twitter name because I don't know it. And I am pretty much the same as Adam. This was like family time when I was little. We would gather around the big screen, big fat TV and watch Survivor. So this is a blast from the past. I believe this was made in 2003, so I don't remember anything. I was in 3rd or 4th grade bliss, and I've blacked it out. So it's basically watching it new. So that's about my Survivor history.
Great. And Scott?
So like he said, my name is Scott. Similar to Adam and Emily, growing up, I remember watching maybe the first 2 to 3 seasons with my parents on whatever night it was. It was kind of our family thing to do. Then as I grew up, I kind of stepped away from Survivor. And then as I got older and got into college and met Alex and Adam, I began to watch more. So there's a big gap in my knowledge of Survivor between the beginning and kind of the more recent stuff. Like Adam said, for this season, I know Rupert and I know Johnny Fairplay, and that is really about it. So I'm really excited to see how this season turns out.
Nice. So we've got 3 people who are pretty much blind going into the season, which is super exciting as someone who knows precisely what happens to kind of experience this along with you as though it was my first time. Here's a quick apology. I am sick and my voice doesn't normally sound like this. So if you're like, oh, this guy sucks, his voice is super annoying. It's less annoying when I'm less sick. So
he usually sounds like James Earl Jones.
Yeah, it's really bizarre what happens to me when I get sick. I go from James Earl Jones to a Midwestern white boy with a stuffy nose really quickly.
Really, I don't know the difference.
Thanks, Scott. So the way that we're going to do this, we're going to take each episode of a season of Survivor and do an episode of the podcast for that episode. And we'll go recap the show so that if you're watching along, you can get a reminder of what happened in the episode. Or if you need a refresher from when you watched it before, we'll kind of remind you beat by beat what happens in the show. And then we'll go in depth, dissect some strategy, reflect on the story, some of our funnier moments that we remember as well. And it should be a good time. Like I said, off the top, the first season we're doing is Survivor Pearl Islands. This was season 7. Emily said earlier it aired in 2003. This is one of my favorite seasons ever because of primarily these memorable characters that, yeah, like Emily and Adam and Scott said, these are people who are not Survivor fans per se, but like people remember Rupert and Johnny Fairplay and other ones because they're such good characters and they're really fun TV to watch. I will be using, and you're probably familiar with this if you're watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, because that means you're probably deep in Survivor lore to find this. But Rob Sesternino has a podcast. It's called Rob Has a Podcast. It's very good. I listen to a lot of it. And they, a while back, did a season ranking of the first 30 seasons, I think. 30 seasons, yeah.
Which is a lot of seasons. Let's just pause.
And there's 5 more that haven't been ranked.
Wow, that's a lot.
We're going to be making a lot of podcasts.
Survivor started before 9/11.
It did, dude.
I can't get over that.
It's nuts.
It can't be that old.
It's a television masterpiece. According to Rob's season rankings, Pearl Island is the third best season of all time, so we're starting with a real strong one. And also, this, I won't tell you who, for our listeners and for the Outwatch people joining me, but there are 4 people, 4 castaways on this season that returned in later seasons for All-Star season. So I won't tell you who those people are, but a good number of people who made their way back into the Survivor world.
Can we guess?
You could guess. I'm not going to confirm or deny, though, because that might
fair.
give you insight into like who does well or not, you know?
All right. I'll guess. I'll take a guess.
Okay.
I can think Rupert,
Obviously.
Johnny Fairplay.
Definitely.
I feel like Lillian's going to come back. She's kind of like, she was a scout. I feel like she comes back sometime.
Yeah.
Number 4. Who's the lady who spoke Spanish in the village?
Sandra.
Sandra. I bet Sandra comes back. Those are my 4.
Okay.
I believe Andrew comes back.
Who?
I think that Andrew, the attorney, comes back.
Yeah, I'm not going to confirm or deny any of this.
Fair enough. But now it's on tape. So if we're
Now
right.
it is on tape, so we can look back and decide if you're right or not. So, hey, let's jump into episode 1 of Survivor Pearl Islands. And we'll start with a... I have not given any thought to naming this segment, but maybe we could call it, like, Tree Mail, where we recap this week's episode.
You gave that no thought?
I gave no thought until this precise moment.
That's so perfect.
Yeah. So, in Survivor Pearl Islands, episode 1, the title of the episode is Beg, Barter, Steal, and it starts with the classic marooning, except this time there's a twist. If you had watched the previous 6 seasons, you would recognize a difference, but if you had not, this is just the marooning. So they're marooned. They have to literally, like, abandon ship. They have nothing but the shirts on their backs, so to speak. In past, they were given, like, luxury items and were more prepared to enter the game. And they jumped off of the ship and were dropped in a village in the Pearl Islands and had to use the, like, little supplies they were given to buy or barter or trade for the goods that they will need on their tribe in the island in the game of Survivor. So in a very classic early moment, Rupert pillages from the Morgan tribe. He steals their shoes, peddles them off to townspeople. I'm sure he gains almost no value from trading those shoes, but it was like, oh, Rupert's cool. He's a pirate.
I'm a pirate.
I think that was my favorite, like, moment in episode 1. Like,
Yeah.
that was so perfect.
It was, you get a really immediate taste of what Rupert as a character is from that one little thing.
He just takes the theme so seriously. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like anyone else does, but he's just like, yeah, we're pirates. So
He's in it, man.
That's true.
So later in the tribe, or in the town area, Sandra speaks Spanish to get really good deals with some of these people. And Drake comes out way on top as far as the stuff that they get from the town. We get a quick early look at camp life. Drake's got all sorts of mosquitoes. Morgan's got all sorts of crabs. It's bad news for both of them. Johnny Fairplay then gets drunk. Rupert makes a skirt and catches a bunch of fish. And then we go to the first immunity challenge, where there is a cannon that they must push through a field of rocks and sand and other obstacles, and then get it to the finish line first. For some inexplicable reason, the Morgan men all get naked, but they still lose.
it was in solidarity. It wasn't inexplicable.
It was pretty inexplicable.
It was inexplicable. Don't even play.
So Morgan, after they lost immunity, of course they have to decide who they're voting out. The majority was leaning towards Skinny Ryan, but then Nicole kind of flipped out and told Lil, who told Andrew, who told Tijuana, all of these things, and ultimately that got her voted out. So Nicole, the infamous woman who wore nothing under her dress, was the first one voted out. And that is the quick tree mail recap of Pearl Island's episode 1. So let's go back and kind of dissect this scene by scene. First of all, what were your guys' overall kind of impressions on this first episode? Were you entertained? Maybe what was your favorite moment?
Oh my gosh, can I go? Because I'm dying to say this.
Yeah, do it.
My favorite moment probably of this season, and I haven't even watched it all. I've watched just a little bit of it. Adam knows what I want to say. Rupert, he's catching fish, and he goes, or something like this. I think I caught a saltwater catfish. I never know they made such an animal. The best thing I've ever heard in my life.
Such an animal.
Oh, like yes, that? There it is. Yes. I love it so much. Oh, that was good. This is an easy game for me.
Yeah, that was great. The sheer like childish joy, with which
just so
I didn't know they made such an animal.
Like he just seems like so innocent, and like in everything he does, like he just seems like the most innocent human being that ever existed. And like that's just so perfect of him, where someone like catches a fish and he's like, okay, I'm gonna go catch 20 of them. Like,
I didn't know they made such an animal.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, he is just made for Survivor. You can tell that he is completely in his element on that island. He is meant to be there, and he is going to make the most of it.
That is true. He's really walking in his calling by being on Survivor.
Yeah. I also, I know I told you I want to do a Survivor fashion moment, an island fashion thing.
Yeah.
But like, it took them all of 28 hours to look like they had been there for years.
Yeah, that's true.
It did not take them long at all to look like they've been on this island surviving forever.
Yeah, they had immediately like, okay, how can we maximize these clothes that we have into as many articles of clothing as possible by tearing them in creative ways?
Right. Yeah. That was hysterical to me. And just like, and by the time they got to the first challenge, it was just like they rolled up. And you're like, how long have you guys been on this island? Like, it hasn't been that long.
Yeah. Producer's like, dude, we dropped you guys here like 3 hours ago.
Right.
I found myself overall questioning the fashion choices. Like, who?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm going to Survivor. Let me take my suit with me. Mm-hmm. Like it, and then also my big thing was Rupert. He said the big thing they played up was they're in their street clothes. They are not ready for this at all. Rupert's in a tie-dye tank top.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's what you went with. It's okay though.
Those are his street clothes.
I was just gonna say Lillian is super gimmicky too in her like Scoutmaster's uniform.
Scout.
I just love that. That was just her decision. Like she was like, I know, I'm just gonna wear my Scoutmaster uniform the whole time.
Doesn't she say at one point too that she's from Indiana?
She's from Ohio, Cincinnati.
Oh, okay. Good.
Why wouldn't she be?
Phew, good.
Hey, Rupert's from Indiana.
Yeah.
That is right. Yeah, he's a Hoosier. As someone who has watched a lot of Survivor and watched it, recently, I was taken like so far back and reminded of what the show used to be from like the very beginning, with like just the way that the pre-game footage they used is so different, and like Jeff's big like 7-minute monologue like explaining what Survivor is. Now it's just we're here in Fiji, we've got 18 people, one Survivor, and it just starts, and now they're like giving a deep like esoteric monologue on what this place is and what the show is. It's really interesting.
And like I like vaguely remember seasons before this, and I have like vague recollections of seasons after this, but I don't remember the theme of the episode being like so important. Like I know that like there's that like millennial versus like Gen X season or something like that, like way later on.
Yep.
And I know that's how they divide tribes, but like beyond like that idea that like the theme is how they divide tribes, the theme of the season just like it just feels so relevant or so like important to them in Pearl Islands. Like I don't know if that's carried on in other seasons or anything like that.
Yeah, like at first, really the theme is just the place where they are. Mm-hmm. So recently they just camp out in Fiji. So every season has been in Fiji, and so that's why, especially more recently, they've been doing like themes that aren't tied to the place.
Okay.
But the way that it kind of looks like now is like, truthfully, the themes are done to try and like catch new viewers, you know?
Right.
And they are very irrelevant for the rest of the show, usually beyond like the first 2-ish episodes, right?
And that's just like, yeah, they just like keep coming back to it. Like Rupert, when he steals his shoes, is like, well, we're pirates. And like,
yeah, the pirate theme is really deep in this one.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I would say I'm a fan. I think the games don't seem, or the game for this one didn't seem particularly refined.
Right.
It was super weird that like they were in the same lane the whole time until they got to the beach, and then it was just like a dead sprint. So really it was, as long as you like kept up with the team in front of you, they did all the work, and then you just got to the beach and you had to drag your cannon to the finish line.
Yeah.
I think that we're still in the early seasons, so they've yet to incorporate a puzzle into literally every challenge.
True.
I was so surprised. I was waiting on the puzzle and it didn't come.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wait.
Challenges do get way tighter, and they all end in a puzzle. We have to talk about, for a second, on the boat, Jeff's, hope you have something on under that comment.
Oh, to Nicole?
Yeah. Gosh. That was so rough.
It was so mean. Like,
I know. Jeff, there's some Jeff haters in some corners of the internet. I am not one. I love Jeff. But one of the common criticisms of Jeff is that, especially in these earlier seasons, he's kind of like creepy.
Yeah, I didn't love that.
Yeah.
Didn't love it. Wasn't great.
Yeah. And then they're like, everybody on this tribe, happy to see you over there. It's like, Jeff, come on.
I will,
Not
like,
cool.
Emily pointed this out, that he doesn't, as compared to like other game show hosts, at least like of this day and age, he's not very like, he's not super about this like tension building. Like he just kind of like, he tells you what's happening or tells you what it is, and then you just kind of like move on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't try and like make himself a large personality.
Just wait till we get into the 30s.
He's done 30 seasons at that point. He's allowed to do it.
Yeah. So, what were your thoughts once they divided tribes, kind of like through the marooning phase? Did it seem like, I know we've watched 3 episodes now, but like at that point, do you remember thinking like, okay, one tribe is set up for success a lot more than another?
I was gonna say, I felt like the Drake tribe definitely got more while they were at the marketplace. I felt like they were more organized, they had a better plan, and I felt like that combined with Rupert looting the other tribe, that they seemed like they were more with it going once they actually got to the island, and they were better set up for success.
It just like, it seemed like Morgan, they like everyone got there and everyone just like dispersed. There was no planning or anything that happened like together. Whereas when Drake got to the island, like they talked a little bit, and it just, by the end of it, it seemed like Drake had like real supplies that were going to help them. Morgan had a tarp and like a pot. And I honestly don't know what else they got. Like, it doesn't seem like they got a lot of other things. It was just like,
well, and there was even the part where I think it was Skinny Ryan who was like, hey, we still have a ton of money. Like, why are you running to the boat to leave? And they just all did it anyway. Like, there was no cohesion. Yeah,
they just kind of acted. They were very reactive, as opposed to like Drake, who like they ran around town, and like it helped that they had Sandra, who spoke Spanish, and so she would like talk to someone and be like, oh no, we can get it cheaper down there. Let's go back. They just, I don't know. I don't know if that, I feel like that was honestly a huge factor for Drake. Like the fact that they have someone who speaks Spanish who can like talk to the locals. Immediately I'm going to be like, well, I'm going to do zero negotiating today because I have someone who can actually speak the language. So you kind of automatically have to like go to a focal person in that moment. But they just seem cohesive. They seem like they're willing to work together, as opposed to Morgan.
Yeah. Speaking of Sandra speaking to the natives, this sequence gave us seriously one of the best moments in Survivor ever, if you ask me. I've got the audio clip here. I'll play the best part.
Trisha thought the lady was laughing and giggling with her or whatever, but the lady actually, I think, liked her in a sexual way.
I love the jaunty pirate music behind that.
Yeah. In a sexual way. It's so good. So good that this happened and that we get the super applicable soundbite of just Sandra saying in a sexual way.
Right.
Just to clarify.
That's so 2003 though.
Oh yeah. It is funny. They kind of like got away with a lot for 2003 too.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's all like the undercover stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Hope you're not wearing anything underneath that in a sexual way.
Right.
You know.
Hey, at least we can say as much as people may not like Jeff Bros and how creepy he seems, we have not heard any like sexual harassment allegations yielded against him. So
God, please let that never happen. I want to love Jeff and I don't want to find out he sucks.
We will viciously turn against him if that happens, but
I know. And then Parvati Shallow will be the host of Survivor. Okay, hey, so we've talked a little bit about Sandra, but not much about like our take on her. What do you guys think of Sandra at this point?
she just has like this really big personality. She speaks her mind and she doesn't really want to take crap from anybody. But she also like, she seems to be a team player. Like she's not out for blood. I think that's something that's been kind of weird about this episode too, is like, I have these memories of Survivor where it's all about like, all right, are you in my alliance? Are you in my alliance? Like who's in my alliance sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like, there's really no talk of it. Like,
you're right. Yeah.
Like Morgan, whenever they go to tribal council, I mean, I think there is like an alliance there, but it's like, it's more just like, well, who's the weakest member? Like we'll vote him out. Like
right.
It just so happens that he's not a member of our alliance sort of thing. And Drake, like we don't see a lot happening there because the storyline is more interested in the team that's going to send someone out.
Right.
And so we don't have like groups of people getting together in any way. It's just like that. So I feel like if Sandra was in a later season, we'd probably see a lot more of like her trying to like team up with people or people trying to team up against her. But I think just because of how early it is more just like, well, yeah, I mean, we're a team. So like, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah. It also is a thing that just in the evolution of Survivor, like strategy happens earlier and earlier as the show goes. Right. So like now, yeah, the game starts, strategy starts the moment the game starts. Right. But yeah, especially in these earlier seasons, it's like it takes a while to really get going. In these really early ones, it's like there's not much of it really until the merge phase. There's still plenty of good TV and fun stuff that happens, but it's not like no one's really thinking about the end game yet, you know?
It's still very raw.
Yeah.
It's not overanalyzed yet.
You're right, yeah. People are still trying to figure out how to play.
Yeah, and I guess it'd kind of be like the first time anybody plays chess. You know, you just kind of, you know how to move the pieces, but you don't know, like, this is an optimal move and this isn't. And so, like, of course, if you can set yourself up for success earlier in the game, you're going to do it. But as of right now, you don't know what is actually going to be optimal and what's not. You know, there hasn't been 20 seasons that analyze strategy up to this point. So
and podcasts to go with
and
them.
podcasts to go with them.
Yeah. So a little bit later, Drake tribe takes in their bounty of liquor. Johnny Fairplay gets drunk. One of the few times I can think of where people are like actively drunk on Survivor, especially when they're not like at a reward challenge where they're being like given alcohol. And you also get a really good dad moment from Rupert in that scene.
Talk about getting some honey or smoking something, drinking something.
The kids, man.
The kids.
We get this moment where Morgan, it's been a whole day, they haven't found their water, and then they think to, check the map they were given. And then they find the water because they failed to look at the map when looking for water.
I was cringing so hard when they were about to take water from that just like swamp thing.
I know.
I was like, please do not drink that water.
I'm legitimately surprised that like someone from the production team didn't like step in really quick and be like, hey guys, look at your map.
Yeah. Hey, idiots, check the map. And then Skinny Ryan and Lillian go get the water, right? Good times. They bond. They've got a nice little friendship. Unfortunate that Skinny Ryan is the name that really stuck for him. Not a great modifier.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, though. I didn't realize there were 2 Ryans until episode 3, maybe. So I was like, oh, that's just his name. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, Ryan O doesn't get a whole lot of screen here early on.
I still, like, every once in a while, like, they'll cut over to, like, the Drake team.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, who are these people? Like, I don't know any of them.
Yeah. That's tough, too, early in the seasons of Survivor. It's like, you've got so many people out there. And you're really only focusing on, like, I mean, the 3 that are... The 2 that are likely to go home, and the 1 who is either leading the charge or the swing vote, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Burton and Sean go fish on the Drake tribe. They get some fish. Rupert has his great moment where he catches, 20 fish then. He didn't realize they made such an animal as a saltwater catfish.
Drake just doesn't seem like they're suffering in any way, shape, or form. Like, it sucks that, like, they're outside and, like, there are mosquitoes, but, like, they seem very well fed and hydrated and
rested.
Yeah, like they just seem fine. And compared to Morgan, who like the first night that they build their shelter, they're like, oh, we need to tear this down and start again. And
yeah,
they just keep like they're so reactive. Like they just do something and then they realize, oh, that wasn't the right thing to do.
Yeah. So yeah, and then it's at this point we go back to Morgan. They elect Andrew Savage, the leader of the tribe. Another early Survivor thing that like, this is the leader. Doesn't really happen much anymore. And also to go back to the island fashion segment, Adam, I noticed around this point in the episode that the back of Austin's shorts say buzzed. Did you catch that?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. And they're from Abercrombie and Fitch.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That plus he tried to take like 2 very large bottles of alcohol to the island. This guy's here for a party.
Right.
Yeah, he is.
This guy, and like, I guess he talks about it, but like this guy has no idea what it's going to be like just in the elements. Like, and he sold all of his clothes.
Right. Yeah.
Like in the town. And it was like, I get the thought, but like, geez, that was just a bad decision.
Yeah, he really has no idea what he's doing, and he was like the wrong person to complete. I feel like he completely took charge once they hit the beach, and I feel like that could be a reason why the Morgan tribe is spinning their tires a bit through season or episode 1.
He does have some massive pecs, though.
He's jacked. Like,
yeah,
that dude is cut.
Yeah. And so then we get to the immunity challenge, the cannon challenge. The thing that stuck out to me so immediately in this one was, again, I feel like I say this all the time, but in current Survivor, the whole challenge is like the background music is Jeff talking. Just he is constantly talking the whole time. And there's like lots of not Jeff talking in this one. It was weird. I was like, whoa. And it's just like he every once in a while, is like, Morgan really falling behind, or Drake struggling with the rocks here, right? Whereas now I'm used to just hearing Jeff the whole time, and it was kind of a bizarre experience.
I don't know, like it. I know what you're saying, but like I also don't know what you're saying because I don't know anything about Survivor.
Right.
But it just like it seemed kind of awkward to me. I don't know if anyone else felt that way, but like. The competition just didn't seem like an especially well thought out one.
Yeah. And
so it just, to me, like the fact that Jeff isn't talking at all just felt really weird.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. Like the whole competition, it just felt awkward like the whole time.
Well, especially when, there were naked people. That really added to the awkwardness.
I thoroughly enjoyed that. I don't know what you're saying.
So why did that happen? Was it that Austin's shorts were falling off and he decided
before
needed to lose them?
Before they even got into the competition, Andrew went up to him and said, if you're going to lose your shorts, take them off, and Rhino and I will take ours off in solidarity. So at one point during the competition, Austin like leans over and he's like, I'm going to have to take them off. And he takes them off, and so everyone else does too. In solidarity.
Unfortunately, that like 5 seconds is probably what cost them the competition.
Yeah, because it was a really close
It
ending.
was a very close competition.
Yeah.
Sandra had another great quote in a confessional to this. She said, I couldn't find an audio clip, but she goes, "They better hope they don't lose their weenies out there."
Oh, yeah.
God bless Sandra.
I know, man. And as much as I agree, the challenge was kind of like clunky, especially the rock garden part. Is like, this is just not fun to watch. Like people slowly picking rocks up and moving them out of the way.
Right. It almost would have seemed better just to like take the cannon apart and carry it over.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. Yeah, but the ending was pretty exciting. Drake had the lead, and then they lost it there. They got stuck in the sand. But then, Morgan almost just kind of stalled out there right in front of the finish line.
Yeah.
And Drake came from behind, I suppose, and pulled it out. So it was a kind of fun ending.
I've noticed I get really stressed out watching the competitions now. Like, it's not even that I'm necessarily rooting for any team in particular. I just get like so anxious. I'm like, it doesn't matter who's winning. I just want them to win already.
Yeah. Later in reflection of the challenge, Sandra had another really great reflection.
I wish their dinglings got stuck on a vine, or I don't know.
I wish their dinglings got stuck on a vine.
Sandra's wonderful.
She is wonderful, man. She's a true treasure. So Morgan loses. They have to go to tribal, right? At this point, after that first challenge loss, who do you think they should have voted out, whether that's what happened or not?
I thought that Skinny Ryan was definitely going to go.
Yeah.
I'm still I'm not 100% sure why they voted out Nicole.
See, that's what I'm saying.
I just really don't get the move. I get what sort of happened there, and that Nicole sort of was trying to make a play, or was just asking about making a play, and then who was it? Lillian went and told so-and-so, and then Tawana, who is my least favorite person on the series ever, Tawana just confronts her about it, and then the whole I don't know, it didn't seem like a very natural. It didn't make sense to me. It didn't seem natural. It didn't seem like this is super dramatic and we have to get rid of her now. It just seemed I don't know, because they were it's just you've been with these people for 3 days. You can't trust anybody.
Yeah,
but you're on a tribe, so you got to get rid of weak members at this point. I don't know. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I thought that Lillian or Skinny Ryan would have been probably the more obvious ones to go after, especially if this was today, a later season. I feel like Lillian would be gone. So yeah, I was kind of perplexed by it also.
Yeah, I think what ultimately happened was that Nicole told Lillian they were voting for Skinny Ryan, and everyone else, knowing that Skinny Ryan and Lillian were tight, was like, dude, Nicole, that was really stupid. Now they know. But of course, neither Lillian nor Skinny Ryan really did much of anything about it.
Right. And they would have known after the vote anyway, so who cares? I really just don't get the play.
Yeah, I think it just set off Tijuana, right? And she got upset about it and rallied everyone to vote her out.
Yeah, which geez, you want to talk about a reactive player?
Well, I think that's that speaks to the entire tribe. Is just how reactive they are. And they're all led by that kind of thinking.
So, unanimously, except for her own vote, then, Nicole was voted out. First person to leave Survivor Pearl Islands. Rip Nicole, pour one out. Her reasoning, her confessional, voting confessional reasoning for voting for who she did vote for was reason enough for me to believe that we miss nothing by her going out as early as she did. She said, "You're the only person I know others are planning to vote for, so I'm voting for you." Really deep strategy on her part there.
I'm honestly surprised it was, I'm not necessarily surprised it was unanimous. I just going into it, they seemed a lot more scattered. And so I kind of had the feeling that it was going to wind up just this really random split series of votes. And Nicole would get 3 votes, and then so-and-so would get 2, and so-and-so would get 2, and someone would get 1. But like she had a super majority of votes, so it was just like,
yeah,
it was weird.
Whatever she did, she really annoyed the whole tribe.
Seriously, yeah. So that concludes our deconstruction of the first episode of Pearl Islands. Thanks for listening to Outwatch. Next time on Outwatch. That was my probst. Yeah, next episode we're going to be going through To Quit or Not to Quit. That's episode 2 of Survivor Pod Pearl Islands, the 7th season. So be sure to subscribe to our feed so you don't miss any of them. I assume we'll have a feed that you can subscribe to by the time this comes out.
How are you listening to this otherwise?
Yeah, otherwise. Sweet. Adios.
Deuces, America.
Bye.